Hey everyone, it's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Also home to the best MJ community. Today is Saturday, December 16th, and I've got an exciting video for you today. We're going to be discussing Curaleaf, the recent uplist to the Toronto Stock Exchange, and then got a couple of interviews that I want to go over here with regards to some comments from Boris Jordan, the executive chairman. He talks about how he believes the next couple of years are going to be a return to growth, and that is something that's been coming up a lot lately. And then also some comments and highlights from another interview with CEO Matt Darin. Before we get to all of that and more though, make sure to smash the like. It helps support me in the channel. I would appreciate it very much. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff, and you'll be notified on any future live streams or when I post a new video. First and foremost, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment and informational purposes only. You should never buy or sell anything based on anything that I say or anything that I write. And full disclosure, I am a very large shareholder of Curaleaf. So we'll get right to it. I do love each and every one of you who supported me along the way as well. And you can give us a follow over on X, which the handle for that is @GroupPow. And we also recently signed up for Rumble and Odyssey platforms as well in case we ever get turned off on YouTube. So we'll start with the Green Market Report exclusive interview here from Curaleaf CEO Matt Darin. He discusses the path towards profitability. And then I've got a couple of videos from TDR, a couple of videos as well. There's another one from Advisor Shares and an interview with Boris Jordan and some very bullish comments. And this really paints a picture of where we're headed over the next couple of years. And I could not agree more. I think the next couple of years are going to be absolutely transformative for the industry. We're going to see massive growth ahead, and there's tons of growth catalysts as well. There's never been a better and more exciting time to be involved in MJ, and we're finally starting to see the technicals and the share price kind of catch up with that. So we'll start with the comments here. An interview from Matt Darin, the CEO. Curaleaf has posted more than 700 million in losses in the last 2 years, but its CEO says it's prepared to reverse that course. And this isn't new for the industry, right? This isn't like Curaleaf is the only one who has lost millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. It's very common in the industry because it's a new industry, right? No one has ever really grown or cultivated and scaled to 1 million square feet cultivation, right? This is a new industry. This is a new process. This is all very, very new. And it takes so much to get a facility up and running, right? In a lot of cases, you got to build a facility that costs, millions, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars. And then you got to figure out all the kinks, right? Deal with the issues as they come up. And then you got to build, a massive facility. You got to build, that's tons of CapEx. You got to get security and your license, right? Which costs millions of dollars. And then you got to grow the plants for many months, and then you've got to package it. And all this stuff costs a ton of money before you even see $1 in revenue, right? So it's a very difficult industry, but this is going to be a massive industry, in my opinion. It's going to be very, very high cash flowing businesses. And like I've done a video in the past that mentioned from Boris Jordan, he said that, and if you haven't seen that video, you can go check it out. But essentially, he said that just search Curaleaf dividend, and he said that if not for 280E, Curaleaf would probably already be paying a dividend to its investors. They've already paid over $350 million to the US government just under 280E. Imagine if they had that on their bottom line. Like he said, he thinks that MJ companies are going to be very high cash flowing businesses, and he thinks that dividends are going to be a very real thing. And like you said, if not for 280E, he believes that they would already be paying a dividend, which is absolutely massive. So Curaleaf CEO Matt Darin, who's been leading the company since May 2022, sat down recently with the Green Market Report to talk about how he sees the company moving into profitability and what impacts he sees on the way from federal MJ reform that appear to be on the horizon. So we'll go through some highlights here. He said, "We did 14 or 15 acquisitions, so finding where the efficiencies are takes time. We also had several facilities in certain markets where we'd rather have one singular and more efficient facility. Also, we've been really focused on cost-saving initiatives, which a lot of MJ companies have been doing lately. This hyper growth led to a lot of opportunities to reduce costs out of the system, but I'm proud of some of the decisions that we've made that resulted in close to 100 million of cost savings between SG&A, sales, general, administrative, and COGS, cost of goods sold. We've done a lot of the right things. We also really focused on bringing out our inventory the last couple of quarters, selling them through our own stores, rationalizing our wholesale business, and getting out of selling SKUs that were not profitable. And that's something that a lot of other companies as well have been doing, especially a lot of the LPs here in Canada, focusing on products that are driving growth and profitability. Also, New York obviously has been a hot topic. The market is near and dear to our heart. We're based in New York, and we've had like 43% market share in the medical market. So we've had the most to gain and the most to lose with this stalled adult use program. It's certainly been difficult, but I'm really happy that everything got resolved and that the regulated market is moving forward. Our Toronto Stock Exchange uplisting, that's going to be a big lift for us. We let TerraSen kind of be the guinea pig event and see how it went for them. And so far, it's been quite positive just in terms of the liquidity and some of the new investors that are now able to invest in these companies versus being on the CSE, the Canadian Securities Exchange. And then obviously the federal reform catalyst, both rescheduling and safer banking. He said it's been a roller coaster. And then he goes on to say that the good news is that we have the most favorable debt in the industry with a 2026 maturity at an 8% rate, which is looking better and better given where interest rates are today. 100%, I would agree with that. I'd also note that our guidance is 100 million plus of operating cash flow from the business, positive free cash flow, even after we continue to invest. So when you look at it from that standpoint, the operations of the business are generating cash. That to us has been a big focus. Just a couple of more comments, and then we're going to share some videos here. What has to happen for Curaleaf to get into the black? Rescheduling, for instance. How much would tax savings from 280E nullification help? The markets that we exited, some of those were a drag on the business. And so we haven't really fully seen all the benefits of not baking in the losses from a California or Oregon. So when you look at our pro forma financials and focus on this core business of the 17 states that we're in now, and they have about 5,000 employees, I believe, and our European business, which will be profitable next year from an EBITDA standpoint, I think we're getting there. We're also one of the biggest, if not the biggest, beneficiaries of the removal of 280E. It's 150 million annually of 280E. The entire financial profile of us, along with other MSOs, changes immediately when we have 150 million of free cash flow in addition to what we're already generating. So he says how much Curaleaf would save annually if the Biden administration moves MJ to Schedule 3 and 280E no longer applies. $150 million a year. Imagine what we can do with that to pay down debt, to invest further in new markets. We've been very cautious as of late on the acquisitions on the M&A side, mergers and acquisitions, as the industry has because of financing. That's going to change the landscape of the industry. Aside from nullifying 280E, what's your take on the practical ramifications of rescheduling for the US MJ industry? It's definitely going to open up quite a bit more ability to do clinical research, which I think will be a great thing and has been really hampered in the US. From a financial market standpoint, there's a lot of conjecture in terms of, will that be enough for US exchanges? Will it be enough for more US banks to get involved in financing the industry? I think a lot of that's conjecture and kind of to be determined. It's not going to include interstate commerce. From that standpoint, it's going to continue to be a state-by-state regulated business, not unlike some other industries out there that still have different state-level regulations. So overall, great interview with the CEO, Darin. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this. To cap off today's video, I'm going to leave you with some interview clips from TDR and Boris Jordan. And then also Boris Jordan appeared on the Advisor Shares interview as well. The outlook into the next year or two looks extremely positive. Just hear the excitement in Boris's voice and just listen to some of the keywords that he says. And what I think is the most important and the biggest comment from him is a return to growth.
Investors love good valuations. And if you ask me, these companies are trading at rock bottom prices, right? I mean, again, I want to go back, right? Curaleaf went public at $4.4 billion valuation on $70 million of revenue that year. We will do, 1.4 to 1.5 billion next year. And we are now trading at half the market cap that we were when we went public 5 years ago. And so if you ask me, these are great valuations to look at. Now, obviously, valuations have slightly corrected, although not in risk areas, but nowhere near to where we are today. And so I think that investors love good valuations. And I think that the cannabis sector and Curaleaf in particular are trading at great numbers now to buy. My mantra for 24, my mantra for 23 was get efficient, get lean, get your operations in order. And that's what Curaleaf did. And by the way, it affected our numbers. There's no question. But coming out, and I think you'll see it in the fourth quarter already, coming out of the fourth quarter, it's return to growth. Return to growth. And that's my mantra for 24 and 25. And now that we're coming into 24 and 25 on a much leaner footing, we cut about $120 million of costs. We reduced our inventory by $100 million this year. We got out of markets that weren't performing. We're going to be going into 24 with New York now operational. We settled that. We made our first sales. We're starting to see really good demand for our products in the New York adult use market. Germany, what we think will be April 1st, major catalyst for our European business. So Poland, which we just started selling to, we hope that's going to be a $5 to $10 million business for us next year, brand new market for us. So we're seeing growth. So we're returning to growth. Ohio at the end of the year, we hope with the rulemaking, we'll hopefully fire. And we're also seeing, listen, we're all sitting there waiting for a Florida decision and a Pennsylvania decision. These are big decisions. Now, those, in my opinion, are 25 stories. But hey, listen, it's nice to know that 24 and 25 are going to be return to growth years. That's what I'm excited. And it's a return to growth on a much leaner structure as well, which is really, really good for the numbers.
How do you feel about this industry going into 2024?
This has been a very hard industry.
Yeah.
And I think one needs to recognize that it's certainly taken more time to reform it and to get the federal government, particularly in the U.S., to address a lot of the issues than we all thought.
Yep.
But I'm positive on 24. I'm positive first and foremost because I think all the cannabis companies have done a huge amount of work to clean up their balance sheets, to clean up their costs, to get themselves right-sized going into 2024. So 23 was a year of adjustment in the sector. It was a year we all knew wouldn't have a tremendous amount of growth due to the not having a lot of catalysts available in 23. So it was a year that most of the industry used to right-size their businesses. And we go into 24 where we're right-sized. We feel very good about our balance sheets, our cash flows, but more importantly, we now have pretty substantial growth catalysts that we're seeing.
Yeah.
And, obviously New York was a huge one for us.
Huge.
Germany, what we expect in April is another big one from Curaleaf. Obviously Ohio at the end of next year. And then obviously Florida, Pennsylvania, ballots coming up. We think those are probably 25 catalysts. So 24 and 25, in my opinion, should be a return to growth. My view has been from the beginning that I believe that the rescheduling is going to take place by April, not this year. And I've been saying that from day one of this rescheduling conversation.
Yep.
Someone took something I said out of context and I thought it was going to happen the next couple of days. I've always been saying that I don't believe this will happen in December, that I think it'll happen closer to April because it's a political issue and they want to run on it. But they do have some restrictions. They've got a 60-day period for comments, and then they have a 60-day legislative period in order to make it irreversible. So that really runs right into into November. So the latest date they can do it basically is April 20th. And I personally think they might try to do that. So, to do it around a big event like 420 and have the president and the other people come out and speak about it.
Return to growth. So we're seeing growth. So we're returning to growth. Return to growth years. Should be a return to growth.